All right. Hey, everybody. We are live with the Proceed with Passion Q&A. My name is Terry Schilling, and I have here Rachel Cross in the Proceed with Passion hot seat, if you will. Rachel, how you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rachel, you are a marketing consultant, business coach. You host a freelance webinar for freelancers, speaker. What else am I missing here? What's really your elevator pitch? What else you do?
Well, I'm also a snow chaser, meaning I love snowboarding,
Mm.
but I don't think that's what we're talking about. So,
No, but hey, if we can get in, we can touch on that, of course. Yeah. No, it's great to have you. And you and I have met through LinkedIn. We're part of a LinkedIn, this group called LinkedIn Growth Community, where we promote different posts and some different content that we create. And we've got speaking through there. You have a lot of, content about helping people grow a freelance business. So I thought this would be really great to talk to within my copy co-op community, and a lot of other people, in my really network who's kind of taking this freelance journey, since I feel like we both have some personal experience with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Freelancing is one of the most amazing things that's ever happened in my life. I don't know if you feel the same, but after working in corporate America for 12 years, 4 of that was at an agency, 8.5 at different big companies, and really feeling like I wanted more freedom and flexibility. And my solopreneur journey has really led me to that. And that's why I even bring up snowboarding, because I have a goal in my business to take 6 weeks of vacation off a year. So that was one of my business goals when I started.
Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear. And yes, it's one of the best parts about freelance is you have that flexibility where you can take that off. I mean, it may seem at times you just want to get all these clients, but you really can if you structure it well to kind of make sure that you do have that time off. And that's some things we're going to talk about, some tips and some resources that can help, freelancers and people watching taking that journey. But you touched on it. You went from the corporate world into the freelance side. Let's go deeper into that, because I'm similar. I have an agency background and just came to this point where I feel like I could really do this on my own. So tell me about that steps that really got you to that moment where you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this by myself and grow something that I can call my own.
Yeah, I had a couple of hinge moments. That's what John Acuff calls them in his book, Quitter, which I totally recommend for anyone thinking about leaving corporate. And my first hinge moment was that I had my 3rd knee surgery. I've had 5, don't ask. And I had to I had to work from home for a month. And I was really lucky in that my manager allowed me to do that. And this was about a year before I left corporate. But what I realized was that I loved it. I loved working from home. I could be productive. I loved the flexibility. I wasn't, binge watching Netflix. And so that was the first hinge moment. And the second hinge moment was when my company actually shut down the division I was working for. I was working in mobile TV at the time. And I had been dreaming for a year about, asking myself this question: what would I do without fear of failure? Which I'm sure a lot of you have heard. But I really had been pondering that question. And when I answered that for myself, I knew I wanted to stay in marketing. That had been my entire, 12.5-year corporate career was in marketing. But I knew I wanted to do it for projects that I cared about and for companies doing good in the world. And so I took a leap of faith and said, I'm going to start this, freelance consulting thing. And I had about 6 months of runway as far as savings. And so I just said, if I don't make a dime in 6 months, I'll go back and get another corporate job. But I have to go for it and at least just try.
Yeah, man, I take note of the 6-month salary thing too, just because, or not 6 months, but just like, it's so important. And it's something that I didn't quite have, but I had some saved for that moment. But I think that's such an essential thing for people, even if they're building this side hustle, if they transition to full-time from leaving, a full-time corporate agency life, just having that nest is important. And that kind of leads into some other questions. I know you host a few things for freelancers, which we'll get into, but what are some essentials? Let's say 3 things that a freelancer needs to really start and grow a successful career.
Yeah, I would say mindset.
I love it. I feel like we could really dive in on this. We can riff off mindset because it's so important.
It's everything. I'm sort of joking. I do believe it's like the beginning, middle, and end as far as really believing in yourself, because everyone is going to have imposter syndrome at some point. You're going to get the opportunity to bid on a project that you're like, can I do this? And so just having a belief in yourself, in your abilities, in your passions, and how you're created, I think that is one of the most important things. But I also believe that really understanding who you're serving is really important, and niching down. And I think that I heard your conversation with Tyler, and you guys talked a little bit about that, but people are afraid to niche down and say, this is like who I really want to work with. But because you think you're going to miss all these other opportunities, but really it gives you the chance to market and message yourself really clearly. And the reality is you might get other types of businesses. Like I work with nonprofits, small businesses, and startups doing good in the world who can't afford a full-time chief marketing officer. It's very specific. But I still get other requests for corporate work and other corporate clients that don't fit into that niche, but that's my target, my sweet spot. So that's number 2. And then number 3, I believe, is really being clear on your pricing and offers. And from the start, because I see so many freelancers either undercharging or overcharging based on their scope or experience. And I think it's really important to, again, based on your target audience, know what are the services they're willing to pay for, and also what are you worth? And I want people to do value-based pricing, right? Not trading hours for dollars.
Right. And then add 20% on top of whatever that price is.
Exactly.
For some profit margin. Well, I want to touch on the two of those things here, the niching down. Because Tyler and I did talk about it. And for me, it feels like I have a variety of clients I work with. Like you said that you work with entrepreneurs, non-for-profits. I work with a variety of companies, some entrepreneurs who are either in the service-based business, sometimes with real estate, or they're coaches. Also work with tech startups a lot too. But me as a website copywriter and brand messaging, specialist, I feel like that's what my niche is, because I get a lot of different varieties of need to help tell my story, or I need help writing my website. So I feel like that's where my focus is. But industry-based, but does it kind of work both ways? Is kind of how you niche down? Because I feel like it's a hot topic of what should you do?
Yeah, I think it's really good to be niche down and clear on your services, which is what the first part of what you were talking about. And same thing, when I first started, I had the privilege of having a lot of different roles in my corporate career. And so when I first started marketing consulting, I was like, I do it all. I do social media and websites and events and this and that. And then I realized like, I actually don't want to do most of that. And so now I only do pretty much brand strategy and marketing communication strategy. So I think there's a services niche down, like be really clear. I think it's brilliant that you're saying I do website and brand, right? Like that's what I'm good at. That's what I specialize in. I think there's benefit to also niching down on who you're serving. And again, I think it feels definitely constricting, but you're just going to get better and better serving that particular audience. And I also don't believe it restricts you from gaining other types of clients. It just makes your own messaging for yourself really clear.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And just being from a copywriter standpoint and helping others kind of really be clear on their messaging, like having those exercises of envisioning who your ideal client is, or who that one person is, can just be super helpful, like you said, in your messaging. So you're clearly communicating what you do, who you help. And again, other opportunities may come up from that as well.
That's right.
Yeah. So we do have a question here too from somebody who joined the chat. And this leads into a great point about the pricing side of it. Because definitely something that is a hot button. It's a little bit uncomfortable for a lot of freelancers about how they could determine what they charge. So I put it up here. Do you recommend sharing prices publicly, or just knowing your value-based pricing and having it at the ready for new client conversations?
Yeah, I would say it's really good to have some baseline pricing packages for yourself. On the back end, I wouldn't actually publicly post that. And the reason is because really every project is going to be a little bit different, and the value you provide for every client might be different. And so I would have a baseline of like, hey, here's how much I think it would generally cost me to do website copy for 5 website pages, for example.
Yeah.
But then you're going to learn more about the project and what the client actually wants and needs after speaking with them. So I think the call to action for your website or any other, social media or whatever is come talk to me. Like, let's have a chat and let me determine how to best serve you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for your question. For joining that and asking the question here. And it's interesting too, because on my side, I do have my pricing. So not to play devil's advocate, but when I say that, I have specific packages that I offer and I say it starts at this price. So it's not just like, hey, hire me as a copywriter for $2,000. It's not what I do, because I 100% agree with you. There's going to be different scopes of work that can make you charge differently. But I just want to give a base price of what you can include with the website, brand messaging, and that starts at, and then leads into a call to action to reach out to me to discuss what you're looking for. So I feel like that's kind of my way around it. But again, I feel like there's no wrong answers. It's kind of personal preferences. I find that it works for me.
I think what you're doing is great as like a starts as, right? And then it's sort of a starting point of a conversation. And then people have maybe an idea of range. That's my personal preference and advice, but I recognize that there are different ways and different reasons for doing both. Yeah.
And again, do you have any other tips of how to actually get a person to charge for their specific services? So when they hear the scope of work, I mean, do you have any tips of how they can, take in all that information and, send a proposal with the price? Because I feel like that's a question a lot of freelancers get of like, how do I know what to charge exactly?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is to research your competition. So who else is doing what you're doing and what are they charging? And also understanding what you're potentially asking your client and having a direct question like, what have you paid for this in the past and what's your budget for it? So I think both of those things help. And I mean, I remember when I first started, so I've had my marketing consulting business for 9 years now. And in the beginning, I read this book, How to Get Started in Consulting. And that person's advice, if you're coming from corporate, was take your hourly rate that you had from a salary and triple it and use that as a starting hourly rate. And again, I don't want you to use an hourly rate, but just if you're going to estimate time, you could use that hourly rate as an estimate of time depending on the scope of work. So that's kind of an easy way to figure out. But again, I want you to really understand the value.
Yeah. As a buzzer goes off, that's on my end. live television.
It's like, I'm sorry I said that.
But that's really how I base about it too. Like I like doing flat rates and offering that package, but it really does come back to what's my hourly rate, how much time it takes, and then include that. And like you said, triple it. And then it ties back, Rachel, to the mindset thing. Is just because you can second guess yourself like, well, this is a lot of money. Are they going to say yes? And there's a chance they say no, but just stick with it. If you feel that you're worth that much money and this is what time it takes, and the person has really focused in on you, that client's going to say yes. It goes back to the common phrase, all it takes is one yes, even if you get 4 no's. So it really does come back to a mindset thing and, being firm with knowing your worth and what your price is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really believing in the value of what you're providing. And if a client comes back and says, you know what, I want to work with you, but that's just not in our budget. Can you do it for this amount? What I'll do is if it makes sense, I'll say, well, here's a reduced scope of services that I can provide for that amount. I don't actually lower my prices. And frankly, if they can't afford me, then they might not be my ideal client.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's okay to kind of say no to that in that case too.
Yeah.
Just realizing, it's not the right fit. Them saying no is not, don't take it so personal too, in that regards. And Rachel, we have another question. I love this. I hope, this is all right as we're diving in here. Yeah. So, and then it says Facebook user, and just real quick, guys, if you're watching live, there are directions that you can sign in and so we can see your name. But if you want, you can leave another message saying, hi, this is so-and-so, leaving these questions. But if you can see this, Rachel, here, how do you find like-minded niche freelance partners? As we got to pick up a little bit to see us over it. How do you find like-minded niche freelance partners? For example, yeah, exactly. And we're looking down. For example, you own brand strategy and marketing comms, but what if your client wants additional services? Do you have a few niche partners referrals to recommend? How do you find these folks? That's a great question.
Great question. So I was lucky enough, again, I had a 12-year corporate career. I've had my entire career was here in San Diego. And so I had kind of collected the different agencies and freelancers that I worked with in my corporate career. And then even just people like me who left corporate and now are freelancing. So I have a network of copywriters, graphic designers, web programmers, videographers, photographers, event planners, PR people. And I offer that as like either partner services where my client can work with them directly, or I will help project manage and create strategies for those things and then manage those services myself. And then the other thing I think really that's great is LinkedIn groups are great. I mean, that's how Terry and I met. I think a lot of cities have things like creative mornings. If you guys have that in your city, that's a really good place to meet other freelancers and just other creatives in your community. A lot of cities have creative mornings, other networking events like American Marketing Association. I know we have that in San Diego. So I don't want to keep on saying networking events, but some of those are really helpful. I've met
those are super helpful. Not to just completely self-promote, but Facebook groups too. There's a great way to, if you look up copywriters or freelance designers, a freelance community, there's a lot of opportunities there where you can meet other people. And then I think just engaging with content, going on Twitter and LinkedIn and looking up hashtags, if you will, and just following people. If something resonates with you, like and engage with them and meet, a lot of fellow people. I've had a lot of other copywriters comment on some of my posts, some designers as well. And I've been able to make a connection and reach out with them. So a lot of it has been organic on my end, but I am a part of groups where it's kind of easy to be like, hey guys, I need a SaaS developer. Does anybody have any recommendations, from different Slack channels that I'm in? And people are really happy to recommend people too. But I loved your point too about being a project manager. I think that's one way is to grow your business. So if you become this specialty in this niche, like for my example, website copywriting, or you with brand strategy and marketing comms, we can add in other services. They can see more value in what you do as well. And of course, it helps you kind of grow your business and able to charge more, which is always a nice thing to earn a little bit more money, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, again, it depends on the client need and preference. Absolutely. And a lot of times you want one point of contact. And even as copywriters, you guys could be that point of contact if you want to be, and play a project management role and bring along your friends who do website, design and programming or graphic design and partner with people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. Well, again, thanks everybody for the questions so far. But Rachel, let's get into a few things. If you had like a starter pack for freelancers, because I know a lot of people ask, do I need a website? Should I build an email list? We talked about budgeting, but what would be a few things a part of your starter pack for growing a successful freelance business?
I think one of the things that's really important is just some basic accounting principles, understanding startup costs and ongoing expenses. So I know in corporate, like I had a computer given to me and all the software was loaded on it. And then I became a freelancer and bought a very nice MacBook Pro that's super old in 2011. And had to buy my own software. And so just understanding some of those startup costs, understanding, Social Security and Medicare taxes and health insurance and all those things. So really having a clear understanding of your startup expenses, ongoing expenses, and then having a clear platform, cloud-based online platform that you're using to track expenses, understanding all your business write-offs, creating and tracking invoices, understanding your profit and loss at any given moment. I think think that's a really important thing that like a lot of freelancers are like, I don't want to deal with that, but it's actually, I think, really.
I'm just going to I'm just going to PayPal you and you do this. And or it's like, let me send something over via email, a proposal. It's like those processes in place are huge. So create those templates. It's really important.
Yeah. And then just to answer your question about, so I think that's one of the things I think, like I said, pricing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Pricing and offers, like having that be really clear for you. But as far as websites, so I think that the most important thing for you when you start is having some type of portfolio. And what I share with my clients is that you can start with like basically a glorified resume if you're a copywriter, with some writing samples, and then grow that into a website. But if launching a website right away is for some reason cost prohibitive, or you just don't have any friends that could help you do that, then start with something that serves as some kind of digital brochure. Go on Canva and create something, right? And then collect testimonials as you go. And then when you're ready to launch a website, I think a website is important because I think it does serve as your digital brochure and your portfolio. And for writers especially, people are going to want to see samples of your work. So it's important, but I also don't want it to stop you from getting work before you have an official website.
Yeah. A website called card.io. And it was really helpful. It's like a one-page website where you can put in your portfolio and different things like that. So there are some resources out there that are a little bit more.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Can you hear me okay? Did we lose a little bit?
Yeah, I lost you for a second. I think you're free. I'm freezing or you're freezing. And I also apologize if you hear the leaf blower is back in my backyard. Okay. So apologize.
No worries. No worries. I was just talking about some other affordable solutions when it comes to building a website. There's like card.io, CARRD, where you can build a one-page website. Perfect. So I think it's super helpful. And you mentioned Canva. It's a great resource.
Absolutely. And MailChimp is now
the attractiveness of what you do, so you can have that digital. Yeah, you talking about MailChimp?
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the delay. So MailChimp now also allows you to build these landing pages with drag and drop templates. The only bummer about it is that you need a paid account to customize the URL, but or to even associate it with your own domain name. But it's just another option as something like, hey, I'm going to link this, and send it to a client as a starting place.
Yeah, no, great resources. So speaking of that, one question I always like asking other people in these Q&A sessions are, what are some of your go-to resources and tools that you use to help run your business every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that because I've listened to some of your other ones and gotten tips. So I love Google Docs.
Yeah, okay.
Google Docs, why haven't we used that for all of eternity? So good for collaboration.
I'm with you.
Easy, all the things. I love Calendly for setting up client meetings. I think it makes it really easy, especially with Zoom integration. I've been using Zoom since 2013 because I've had international clients that I needed to talk to. So that was not a new phenomenon for me, but I love that people are now getting on board. I do
nice flex there, Rachel, of being one of the first adopters of Zoom. I like it.
I get this question a lot. What accounting software do I use? It's called Wave Apps, WAVE apps.com. It's free for sole proprietors, and it does all those things I mentioned. Importing your, transactions. You can go in and categorize them, pulling reports, creating and tracking invoices. That's one of my go-to tools. When I've had tons of clients where I was earlier on in my business, when I was doing time-based pricing, I used Harvest to track time. I don't really use that anymore because I don't really do that anymore. And Adobe, all of the Adobe things.
Okay.
I'm not a designer, but I've taught myself just enough, Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, and Premiere to be able to spit something out really quickly for a client as far as production art.
Yeah, no, that's great. I had a little bit of experience with Adobe products at my agency when I was before that. But that really helped me with graphic design. So then when Canva came around, it just felt like I had more of a visual eye, if you will, but I love that tool. And I pay for the extra. It's like $13 a month, but it's so valuable for me and what I do. Like I can create presentations and digital products that I've created. And it looks really nice. And I recommend Wave too. That's what I use.
Oh, cool.
It's super helpful to manage, business expenses, to send personalized invoices compared to the PayPal, or, here's my Venmo, like have this professional look to you, I think, as you grow, is definitely helpful.
Yeah.
It's even been, clients have even said that, Terry, this is great. Like, thanks for making this easy. I think, building that relationship too, is something important. And obviously, and what I always say is, like, for me, my services or what I provide to you, it's like what you get, like a tangible product, if you will. But I want to be easy to work with. I think that's what's helped me get referrals and continue to get retainer work as well, is being able to communicate and work well with the client.
Such a good point, right? Like, you can be the best copywriter in the world, and if you're a pain in the butt to work with, clients aren't going to refer you. So I think that's a brilliant point. Yeah,
it goes back to customer service. You go back to restaurants for the most part because they're nice to you and they treat you well instead of being a jerk.
That's right.
So yeah. All right, Rachel, as we wrap this up, one of my last questions, you may have seen it on the other interview, so maybe you're ready for this. Now, I've always asked, are you more burrito or pizza?
100% burrito. I live in San Diego. I very much appreciated, again, Tyler's response of the California burrito.
Yeah.
Mainly because French fries are my favorite food, followed by chips and salsa, followed by Mexican. So it's combining all of the things.
So burrito. So it's weird because I was thinking about transitioning it to be like, all right, just flat out do success pizza for everybody. But, I feel like it's fun to kind of go back and forth. And like you said, the California burrito. I was telling Tyler I had it once at a brewery that's from San Diego, Ballast Point here.
Yeah.
It was a game changer.
My friend manages the Ballast Point in Chicago, by the way. Shout out to
does he?
Yeah, to her.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, they have a great patio. That's one of my favorite breweries here in Chicago. But anyway, so let's get back to the question. Rachel, then, burrito, what are the 3 key ingredients that you put in your success burrito?
Yeah, I love it. Number 1, super simple, start with your why, right? Like, make Simon Sinek proud.
Yeah.
Figure out your spiritual vision, unique genius, whatever you want to call it. What's the intersection of your talents, passions, gifts, and burden you have on the world to serve the world? So I think that's number 1, starting with your why. I think number 2, being really intentional about your productivity hacks. So you mentioned time blocking in your how to transition from either, create side hustles or transition from corporate to freelance. And I think that is huge because when you're in corporate, you do have this, meetings are somewhat set for you because you're constantly being invited, your office hours are set. But when I first started freelancing, I would work till like 8 p.m. sometimes. And I had to like reel that in and really be clear about time blocking. So then there's tons of other productivity hacks that I can talk about, but just for the sake of time. And then I'll end again with mindset, right? I think practicing gratitude, really being intentional about things that you're doing, mindfulness practices, your belief system, looking at your limiting beliefs, replacing those. I think there's just so many mindset things that can affect us. And I really believe that is the 80% of the key to your success.
Yeah, I love it. Well, that's great. That sounds like a very tasty success burrito, Rachel. And I have to agree with all of them, of course. I don't think I'll ever disagree with people when they give you their 3 key ingredients. But the mindset thing, I practice gratitude every day, write 3 things in the morning before bed. But it just really does set you up with positivity and it helps you kind of overcome challenges. And it's okay to fail. And, because you have this in the why, it's like you have an idea of what success looks like for you. So you can continue to chase that, really. And you can put plans in place to achieve that. So love all the points there, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And so that's all we got for this Proceed with Passion Q&A. But Rachel, now I want to take time to have you promote a couple of things that you're working on. We talked a lot about freelancing today. I know you're hosting a couple webinars and have some resources. So please talk a little bit about that and then where people can find you across the internet.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I am hosting a free webinar on Thursday, June 25th at noon Pacific time. And you can find more information about that and really anything about me on my website, rachelkgroup.com /coaching is where you'll find most of the freelance type of information. And then connect with me on LinkedIn, Rachel Kumar Cross. And I'd love to connect with you and see how we can help. People can book free 30-minute coaching sessions with me if they want, and just get a little bit of advice of how to kickstart their freelance career. And it's really a passion of mine because, again, my spiritual vision, unique genius, is found in helping other people find their freedom and joy.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely, I love that. It's really empowering too. And I think just even me doing this group and having people even just ask questions and saying how helpful things are, it's a great feeling. And, it's, just love it. And so thank you so much, Rachel. And everybody, highly recommend join that webinar on June 25th. So make sure you visit Rachel's website and sign up for that. But Rachel, thank you so much again. And everybody, thanks for watching this Proceed with Passion Q&A.
Thank you so much, Terry. And thank you for all you're doing for the copywriting community and everything too. I think it's really,
man.
awesome. Yeah.
I really appreciate that, Rachel. Thanks. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next time. See ya.